get started, just fun story. Us moms especially knew we needed to link arms all across California. So when a car full of moms and Anthony drove down to San Diego a while ago, it was just God's plan. I believe that in my heart. My name is Sonja Shaw. I am the Chino Valley Unified School Board President going on 4 years now, and I'm also the candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. More importantly, I'm a mama bear of two amazing, beautiful daughters. That one is at our local high school, and the other one is in community college wanting to be a firefighter and playing soccer, which I always say is her first and only love still, until God brings her a God-fearing man. I am the wife of a God-fearing man who allows our family to give God our yes every single day to fight the good fight, because it is definitely a family thing. Not one of us could be out of this fight, otherwise it would just all come crumbling down. I never imagined being in politics, so hearing some of the years that you guys have spent, I always want to acknowledge that and thank you guys for being in the fight a lot longer. We are at answered prayer, I want to say, because, you know, when you're asking God for help, He does send help when in the time that's needed. And 6 years ago, when Newsom closed down our schools, is when a whole bunch of us crazy mama, papa, and grandma bears, and you name it, bears came in, and Newsom didn't know what bears he just poked, and didn't realize we're not special interests. We can't be bought and sold, and when they threaten our lives, we tell them bring the stretcher, because if you're sending us to heaven, then God had that plan anyways, and we're not stepping away from protecting these kids. Heck no. So when he did close down the schools, I really believe God was exposing things that we had no clue about. I grew up, just really quickly, I'll go through who I am so you understand why I don't give up. Through my childhood, my dad came from Jerusalem. He was a Christian from Jerusalem still. He is a Christian, thank God, but he came over here, joined the military, wanted to be in the best country of the nation. If you ask my dad, where are we from? He says, America. I'm American, and I've been here longer than you. And so that's all he used to tell us growing up. But unfortunately, him and my mom had a clash, and that led to my mom taking us and putting us in women's shelter to women's shelter, and eventually it led to her meeting somebody, and she caved into a heroin addiction. And at a young age, I was raising my siblings, and you know, I was hiding food stamps just to feed them because they were being sold for drugs. Drugs laying on the table were normal, mirrors and razor blades, needles, they were all over. That was just a normal thing, but I really believe in my heart, God showed me those things to show me that not all kids are fortunate like mine, and those are the kids that we truly need to fight for, and that's who I really, really honestly fight for, is those kids that have no voice and no parents to protect them. So yeah, I mean, going through that, we finally were put back with my dad. My mom passed away, and I say I raised my dad since I was young, because he's still in my house, and I'm taking care of him. He has heart failure and some mental issues, but the good thing is, you know, it got me into health and fitness during that time, and eventually I opened a small business. I always dreamed of being a full-time mother, so I would, you know, either clean houses, or with my fitness business, I would wake up at 3 a.m., set up in a batting cage that I subleased from, train women, you know, fitness and health and how to eat right. That food was delicious, by the way. And, you know, I was up at 3 a.m. and home by 7:30 a.m. and I was art mom, PE mom, room mom, anything that was needed in the classroom, I was that mom, until Newsom shut down the mom that became one of his biggest nightmares, thankfully. I put my kids in charter schools. I utilized a little bit of school choice we had here in California when I saw them in danger after I realized when they shut them down, something's not right. Like, look, I was never involved. I didn't even know what the difference between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, and now I'm labeled Republican Shaw, which I proudly wear because I want to be part of the party that protects life and children. So yeah, we never even knew until he shut that down, and I was like, what in the world's happening? My kids went to a school. I had to drive 45 minutes in the traffic every single day, there and back, but they were safe. I always wanted to bring them back because no one knew what was going on. I eventually was online with a bunch of moms, and they were all giving me the horror stories, and I'm part of one. If I'm going to be complaining about something, I better be part of the solution. And so when I was listening to these things, and including one that's in the back room, I have to acknowledge Jenny. I don't get to take her everywhere because she is a mom and a wife, but I'm fortunate enough when I'm in the middle of California, sometimes in the middle of nowhere, I get to have her by my side, and I know that's God's plan. So I'm grateful for her to sacrifice time away from her family as well. But it was moms like her that, you know, were telling me about the horror stories that were happening to their children, and I'm like, oh no, this ain't gonna happen. And someone said, you need to go to a school board meeting. And I was like, what is a school board? And they said, well, those are people you were supposed to be electing that make the most important decisions about the most important things in your life, your children. And I realized at that point, I had a moral obligation to get involved in politics. And it has been my mission for 6 years to tell people, stop saying you're not political, stop saying you don't want to get involved in politics. You have a moral obligation, and I always give them a testimony on why, right? And I do believe that we all have a story and a testimony that needs to be shared, and that's what brings people to our team. And we have been building a rock star team, so when we did end up at our first school board meeting, like many of you in this room, you were delivering a speech that you were shaking like this and like praying to God these people would give you a seat at the table with your own child's life. And eventually we quickly realized the majority of our school boards, just like the majority of school boards all across California still till this day, are hijacked by special interest groups and people that were planted that have no good interest and no protection for our children. They're actually part of the plan that harms our children and breaks up families, right? So for me, again, being solution-based, I said, okay, we got to figure this out. Started knocking on legislators' doors, learning Government 101 on hand. Every door in our area was being shut in our face, and then there was one door that opened up, and it was our Central Committee. And I get it, Central Committees can be a lot of drama. We fight ourselves, and we should just literally look at the enemy and just target that instead of each other. I understand that, but again, being solution-based, they did say, would you like to come speak to us? And I'm like, oh yeah, somebody that actually wants to listen to all the stories of what's happening to our kids, absolutely will come speak to you. We loaded up a car full of moms and drove down there, and we were their guest speaker for the day. That's why I always tell people, your guys' local Republican women groups, especially as I go across California, and then your Central Committees play a huge part on getting people that are just being hurt by this insanity that's going on in California. Reach down, pull them in, because then they'll be like all of us and some of us in this room that will be the biggest pain in the butt for Newsom while you know, clean off the blood off our face and push us back in. Hey.
Sonja, we have one Central Committee member. Where are you, Edie? Stand up, Edie.
Stand up, Edie.
She's in the kitchen.
See?
Thank you for mentioning.
She's serving. No, and I think it's really important.
Erica over here though.
Who else?
Laura. Your Central Committee? Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you for
mentioning that. Thank you. We were just mentioning on how great of a job Central Committees can do and do, and when you see people, pull them in right away. And then give them action items to do, because they'll go out and do them, right?
And they're elected.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, wow. So you guys are hardcore over here. We just have to pray we get people. Oh, yeah, we do have elections, but it's, yeah, anyways, we'll not go into that. So, long story short, we ended up at our Central Committee. I eventually became an alternate. You know how you guys suck us in, and then they were telling me, oh, you have a school board election coming up. Remember, I'm still learning all these things, and I was like, oh, okay, really? Let's go find some candidates. They said, you have 2 seats coming up. We used to be at large, but they were manipulating maps back then, and they were doing trustee areas. And we went quickly to our mom group, and one of our moms is a wife of a police officer in our community, and she said there's a soon-to-be retired police officer that had a thought of being a school board member. Well, we cornered him in our local Luna Grill, we drilled him with a bunch of questions, and we bullied the cop into running for school board. And hey, I'm all for friendly bullying if it means protecting kids, right? We don't do it in mean ways, we just do it in ways we see some talent and we're like, okay, I identify you with that talent, you're gonna do it, and we're gonna get behind you. I don't believe in leaving them alone. We'll support them, and then, you know, give them all the resources. Campaign manager as a mom that never ran campaigns, who's run, I think she's ran and won 3 campaigns now, so it goes to show you. Especially when special interest groups like the California Teachers Association is dumping hundreds and thousands of dollars in each seat. So each seat, I mean, they have unlimited funds, right? So when I went back to my Central Committee, we have 2 good board members, and I said, okay, we got a candidate, we only need 1, and we'll have a majority, and we'll do whatever we want. And they were quickly, like, showed me, that's not the way it works. You better get 2 and pray to God you get 1, because they're going to dump hundreds and thousands of dollars if they think that this seat is being challenged. So we started pulling finance sheets, seeing who's funding these people. It's like all of your guys' seats. I'm speaking to the choir, but it's Planned Parenthood. It was even White House employees went during Biden's reign, you know, over there. It was like all these bad, wicked things that were being funded. I mean, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars being spent on each of these seats. We become the best detectives as mothers too when you poke our kids, so we found it all. So I went back to our mom group. I just was at like a state of the city, now I know all these events, but I really think that our local government was just throwing me anywhere just to shut me up and keep me busy, but it was actually good because I was learning how all this works. I was being introduced to people. So again, if you give God your yes, he has a plan in what he's doing. So eventually, that led me going back to the Zoom with all of our moms and the one dad. I have to give him credit because he was the one dad that signed up for our crazy mom group. And, because look, we don't discriminate when we have helpers, right? We can identify you're a man, I'm a woman, we don't mix that. But you know what I'm saying? We can define what it is and know our proper place in things. And so I went back to our mom group and I said, okay, one of you is running. I told Kelly, she was our mom that learned the maps, now we're all experts, but I said, get out the maps, Kelly, one of you is running. The maps were just voted in, and I said, we're gonna get behind you. We'll have one of the moms be your campaign manager. There's no excuses. I wasn't gonna tolerate people saying, no, I don't want to. No, you're gonna do it. Well, look who's standing here. Guess whose house is on the stupid map. Like, in God's perfect timing, I'll take this. My house, my backyard is literally on the line. So you gotta imagine that was in God's perfect timing, switching me from being a group leader to a candidate. So yeah, I was like, oh crap, what did I just do? Husband gave us yes, because he's more like if God opened the door, we're going through it, right? And we ran a campaign. We had great teachers, which were really good because they were very bossy and able to organize with and get away with it than I would be bossy and telling people what to do. So we had a great teacher because during that time of us going to meetings, the union abandoned the good teachers because of the mandated vaccines and all those crazy things that are going on. But again, that was God's design. So she organized my walkers and the other walkers, and for 6 months we walked and knocked, and I see head shaking because this is exactly what some of you have done in your own districts. And we walked and knocked 2 to 6 hours a day. I say 6 hours because I was walking 6 hours. My volunteers were walking anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. And we were walking and knocking, hitting every single door once and sometimes twice. And that election, we took out the incumbent and the other seat, and we switched our board from a 2-3 to a 4-1. Yes. You have to be on the ground. You have to tell a story. You have to have somebody there that says, oh, the candidate's only a block away. You want me to go grab them? And usually, even if they don't want you to come, just knowing that, knowing a candidate's taking time at the door, it really, truly means a lot more than the paid walkers that the other side always pays. Because those people don't have a story. They don't have a heart when they open the door. They have a job, right? Put it on the door and get out of there. Go to the next door because it's all about numbers for them. So that year, I was brand new, just elected. I was newly elected as the president. And you guys know Assemblyman previous, Bill Selly?
Yes.
Yeah. He's the one that got me in trouble for this race too. I'll get to that. But anyways, in good trouble, not bad trouble. But with that said, he was a brand new assembly member, and oftentimes San Bernardino County, Riverside County, we work together because we're so close in the lines. You know, they draw us in there. We love when they draw San Bernardino in with Riverside. We hate it when they put us in with LA because we're not LA. And we don't operate like LA, but again, they try to manipulate maps and put us in areas that don't represent us, right? Yeah. So he comes in, and brand new assembly member, he presents a bill that says if a child were to identify as the opposite sex, I will say the language said gender, but I really encourage everybody to get that out of your brain, your mouth, your vocabulary. That is their religious, ideological terms. We don't need to use it. It's male and female sex, okay? We let them blur the lines because we weren't paying attention, and now we need to draw back the lines and define what a male and a female is. So with that said, his bill simply said if a child were to identify as the opposite sex, we would tell their parents. That's it.
That's it.
We wouldn't stop them from going in the opposite restroom. Oh, don't dare districts to do that because that would be breaking California law. Did you know that? We wouldn't dare them to not let boys on a girls' team. We wouldn't dare any of that because that's California law. We would just tell their parents. Now, Bill saw the writing on the wall. He saw the bills prior that were passed that nobody knew about. He saw the tampons being put in the boys' restrooms. That was a bill years ago when we first all started getting in there. The ideology into the curriculum, that's legislated. It's hard even for us to stop it in our own district, although we do, because we have what we call a controversial policy notification. That means if you're going to teach it, you better tell the parents. Now, I will tell you, most teachers don't want to tell the parents that they're teaching their kids about weird, bizarre things. Now, when they do, and they try to just do it under the rug, our district can hold them accountable because they didn't follow the policy, even though it's the law. So you have to be creative on finding ways around it and sending the message. And that's how we get teachers, you know, I call them union activists. We have great teachers, like my mother-in-law who retired, and probably some of you in this room. And then we have union activists. These union activists are on a mission. They do not care about teaching kids, and they're actually driving away professionals, teachers, away from this business, and they're also driving away potential teachers from getting into the school districts because they want nothing to do with what's going on. My daughter included. My youngest 16-year-old wanted to be a teacher, and now she's like, Mom, I don't know. And I'm like, yes, you do. Please, we need you, right? But with that said, that bill that he was doing, I wanted to be the voice of our community. I used to beg our school district, especially when Biden was perverting Title IX, trying to make it from gender to, sex to gender, and the tampons, and just stupid bills that all of us moms and dads would travel up to Sacramento and fight and testify against, sexually explicit books, all these garbage things that have nothing to do with education. I wanted to support, and I wanted to be, so to say, the lobbyist for our district. We don't pay lobbyists, so why don't we be the lobbyists? Why don't we go testify as a professional district, an educational institute that says this is wrong, right? We should involve parents. So I brought that resolution forward saying we would support Bill's bill. And quickly, Bill shows up to our school board meeting while we're about to pass it so we can write letters and do all the fun stuff that goes along with being able to support it. And he says, at our public comment, remember he's Riverside County Assembly member and we're San Bernardino, so that means a lot for somebody to show up to another county, right? And he says, you know, I really appreciate you guys taking the step forward and supporting my bill. But unfortunately, I have bad news. Bad news is they wouldn't give it a hearing. You know how it works. They don't like to do things in the light. They do everything in the dark. They don't give it a hearing even though they know they have the majority to go vote against it, because if you do it in a hearing, that could be taken, blasted, and exposing them. So they just cut the hearing in its entirety, and then nobody knows what they're doing. But he said, good news, as a attorney, because Bill's an attorney, and now he's in LA, you know, appointed by Trump, holding criminals responsible. He said, you can pass a policy and you don't need my bill. And I was like, what the heck are we doing, wasting our time with supporting this bill? Let's just get the policy done. So the good thing is, remember I told you how parent groups were connecting all over California? This coalition was formed. It had Aaron Friday, all parent group leaders, Moms for Liberty leaders, you name it. There was leaders in this coalition that was developing this policy now, mindfully, developing this policy, legally developing this policy, even though we know it's legal. Parents have the constitutional right. And I was being told by our superintendent, who was scared, like most superintendents, even if they want to be on the right side of history, that this was illegal. You can't do this, Mrs. Shaw. You would be held personally responsible. We wouldn't give you attorneys if you get sued. They could go after your everything, right? Your home, whatever, because you can't protect yourself in legal battles like that. Well, I will say, the good thing about most of us that were put in the education system before it was completely destroyed, we have comprehension skills. We can learn. We can like think on our own. We can read things. We can understand things. And while he was paying expensive attorneys to give me documents and pages and stacks telling me why and how and guidance on why it's illegal, I didn't find one law in there. Now, if I go out, and I told him the same thing, if I go out and I run a red light, guess what's going to be cited? The law I broke. They're not going to say, lady drove crazy, ticket. I mean, they might put that in the notes, right? But they're not going to just say that. They're going to cite what law I break, because that's the proper way. So I took all those documents and I said, with all due respect, you're highly educated, and I appreciate that and I respect that, but I want you to go through these documents and tell me what law. Give me the bill, give me the law number, give me the ed code, give me something to show, and I won't bring it forward. Deal, done, we'll stop. I knew what I was doing, and within 48 hours he came back to me, I think it was 24, and said, you know what, Mrs. Shaw, we were lied to. And I said, I know. I'm glad that you saw that, so it's time to bring it forward. Well, this is very important because Tony Thurman, our state superintendent, during the time we were walking and knocking, he made a post and called that seat that I was running in the most important school board seat during that time in California. He came down and walked with my opponent the one time she walked, okay? Now Tony comes down, because Newsom caught wind, they all caught wind, and he sends little Tony down to our school board meeting to bully us, call our superintendent, try to bully him, but guess who's the boss of the superintendents? The board. Guess what the board did? Well, the board president directed the superintendent, if he were to call you, I know he's coming because Fox told me he was coming. Like, they called me, how do you feel about it? Oh, thanks Fox for giving me the heads up. Tony's coming, guys. So that's when I called our superintendent and I was like, hey dude, you're probably gonna get bullied today. Give him my cell phone and do not entertain his conversation. Shut him down, tell him your bosses won't let you talk to him. And that's how it happened. He tried to call, he was directed to not talk to him, which I believe in my heart, if experts are in there doing the right thing, we stand in front of them. We take the punches, we take the slings and arrows, right, Anthony? And we don't let them bully the good people who are doing the good things in our districts. So I told him, anything that comes after you, blame me. Tell him it's the board president. I don't care. Send them to me. Give them my phone number. Well, with that said, Tony comes down, tries to hijack our meeting, and I begged Tony for years prior to getting that seat, even with late start, all these crazy things they were doing, the bus situation, everything that he was doing that was harming education. Remember, $130 billion spent a year. 47% can read, write, and do math. Math is actually in the 30s, by the way. It's in 37 or 38%, so it's even worse than reading and writing. You even see UC San Diego has to offer remedial math. 1 in 6 students, I think it is, has to take it. Harvard, the same thing, but they don't call it remedial. This is by failure. Well, Tony shows up, and after he sat down, if you not saw that meeting, I just encourage you go to Google, you'll get a little giggle. Put Tony Thurman, Sonja Shaw, and you will find the moment that God took that I still don't think was a big deal, but apparently people thought it was a big deal. And I pretty much, when he went to sit down, I did Anthony can probably relate, it's a point of information. Our board president previously used to tell us parents, point of information, da-da-da, they're lying, this is not correct, right? And I'm like, you're not even supposed to respond to us, lady, until your comments, but whatever. So I just rubbed it in and I said, oh, previous board president used to do point of information. I'm gonna call it point of information or whatever I called it. It's really a point of privilege, let's be honest, and it's a way of elected officials being able to have a voice over the community. But in this case, I was having a voice over the person who was destroying our kids, and I believe that was very important at that time. And I thanked him for being there. I did. I mean, for him to come, I really do appreciate him using our taxpayer dollars and coming down and engaging with us, right? But I told him we were in this position because of people like him perverting our kids in Sacramento, and we're not going to do that here in Chino, so have a nice day, but thanks for coming. And of course, he tried to approach the podium back, and we all know as parents, if we disrupted a meeting, even Tony supported a bill that would put us in jail or fine us for disrupting a meeting. So I was like, oh, this guy's trying to even be a hypocrite on this bill. And I said, we're not having this here, Tony, have a seat. And he refused. I had to call a meeting. We had the best police department, by the way, behind, because we had death threats and everything else, but they were swatted up behind me, so I knew we were safe. Called the break, Tony left, went on national news and said the board president kicked him out. Now,